Welcome back to Level Up Russellville. Today, sitting down to talk about something a little bit different. Instead of interviewing another business owner, today I want to talk about something that we have going on in Russellville that not a lot of people know about. And Russellville is sort of becoming this little hub of game and interactive media design because of the program in town at Tech. It's bringing in hundreds of different software developers and game developers and sort of taking them through their program. And so myself and my friend Ian here, who's also an editor on the channel, we hosted a game jam last month.
Yeah.
And that was fun. So, this podcast is going to be kind of a different one because we're going to be really getting into what game development and software development are about. So if this isn't your cup of tea, you might want to clock out on this one, join us on a future episode. But if you are interested in kind of what this is all about, how to get started with it, maybe you're a student at Tech in in the program, then stick around because that's what we're going to be talking about.
Yep.
Cool. Now we're not going to have any more acknowledgement necessarily of like where we live.
All right.
And then it's kind of like two different intros, but yeah.
Yeah.
So now we're just going to kind of get into the weeds. So where do you want to start at? Well, we can talk about just game jams, their value.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I mean, it was cool that we hosted one recently in person, and that was different. I'd never done an in-person game jam. Neither had you. But it was cool. And, we didn't have a huge turnout. And even some of the people that showed up, they ended up leaving. Couldn't take the heat. But, it was a good time. And game jams, regardless of if they're in person or online, I think they have a lot of value for someone who's trying to learn how to do anything related to game development. It's a huge. Well, let's talk about that first. It's a huge topic, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a lot of things. Which is kind of why I think a lot of people are drawn to it. But it's not just. It's about games, but it's about art. It's about writing. It's about learning to sculpt, model, work with math. Right? There's so many different types of people that fall in it. What would you say your specialty is?
Primarily, I program. I do pretty much a bit of everything. That's why I call myself a hobbyist sometimes, just because I know 3D modeling. I know how to do music. I know how to do pixel art. Sometimes like regular art. I paint sometimes, and my main suit, the thing I've been versed in for longer than any of that, is programming. That has been something I've done since I was, I want to say like 12 or 10. It's been a long time dream, and I started out on like Scratch. I made some really awful stuff, and then I worked my way up. I worked in Roblox. I tried Unity. I made one thing in Unity, and then we're here now pretty much at Godot, where I've made a bunch of projects, a lot scrapped, some actually out and playable on itch, but
yes, and you're the only person I know. You might be the only person in Russellville that's made money from game development.
Yeah.
So later we can talk about that too. It was from a really unconventional way. When people think, at least when I think, oh, I want to make money through game dev, it's like selling your game on Steam, to the end consumer. But that's not how you did it. And we'll get into some of the details later. But no, yeah, good intro. And for me, it's kind of the opposite, I guess, in a way. Like, it wasn't programming. It was, I don't even know, 3D modeling probably. And that sometimes in game development, when you're working on a project, you hyper-focus, at least sometimes I do, on a particular skill or part of the project, which for me, it in the past, it's been 3D modeling. Like, okay, I want to make a game. Well, that game needs art, needs 3D models. So the very first thing I would do is like, okay, I got to learn how to 3D model. And that's, if I was trying to become the best game developer I could ever be, that was a horrible strategy because what it resulted in is me spending thousands of hours learning software like Blender and not making games.
Yeah.
But I did become I'm not an advanced 3D modeler, but I am specialized in hard surface 3D modeling. I'd say I'm pretty intermediate. You know, I've come a long way looking at my very first models to I'm actually having made money selling courses, teaching people how to do it. That's what I found I had a talent for is people made YouTube videos since I was 12. People liked my voice, so it's pretty calm, you know. So me calmly walking someone through a tutorial sold pretty well. Fun fact: if Udemy cost me about 70 grand.
Whoa.
Selling my course, and I say that it's kind of like a clickbait thing to say, but I sold about 3,000 copies of my course, and I made about $1,200.
Yeah.
Which back then for a course, I didn't really look into it, think much of it. I was like, yeah, this is awesome. But then I did the math later, and if I had sold, if I had sold the course for a fraction of what they were charging to those 3,000 people, I would have made like $70,000.
Oh.
You know. But at the same time, Udemy gives you we're kind of getting off in the weeds about Udemy, but it's a platform that gives you an audience to sell to.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I probably wouldn't have sold that much had I been somewhere else. But yeah, you can make a lot of money kind of in the game dev world without ever selling games.
Yeah.
Selling assets, selling courses.
Kenny makes a lot of game assets and makes just a lot of money off of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's
thought Kenny was
donations.
free.
I think it's like
Sell stuff,
donations and stuff that like his Patreon and whatnot that he makes money off of.
Yeah, no, I've never used Patreon. It's but another platform that if say you are really good at this one little vertical, you've learned 3D modeling, or maybe you've learned audio really, really well, and you sell these packs, sell them to your community. And yeah, it's good stuff. So game jams is kind of what we originally started talking about. They kind of prepare you. They're like these. There's an end date to the project.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can easily start a project, and then you also wanted to talk about this, managing your scope. Game jams kind of control that.
Yeah.
By necessity.
One thing that I've learned the very hard way, because I've had a billion dream projects that have all fallen through, you're not going to make that. You're not going to make your dream project, especially like learning. I see a lot of the YouTube videos that are like making my dream game devlog, and it always falls through because it's the first game, or it's too ambitious, or it has like a huge Discord community who are all suggesting ideas left and right, and everyone has a different idea of what's good and what's not. Your dream game is probably not going to happen for a while. And I would say limit your scope. Participate in game jams. Do smaller projects. You don't have to participate in a game jam. Just do something that's going to take like a week to make. Start simple. Make like one of those, make a pinball game or something. And that'll teach you how to work with assets. That'll teach you how to get something done. And the more projects you get done, you'll notice the longer the longer dev times you can spend on those projects.
Yeah. It's the problem is a lot of people go into it all with the wrong mindset completely. They want to make a game because they want to probably play a game.
Yeah.
That they're like, oh, this would be cool. Really, what you're doing is you're learning an entirely new set of skills, an entirely new ensemble of softwares you have to learn, of mindsets you have to adapt, and this takes time. It takes a tremendous amount of time.
Yeah.
It's very similar in a lot of ways to like building a business, and I've always been what I would call an entrepreneur, and I think game development is a great way of channeling that same sort of energy. It's not the same thing, but it's a very similar drive and set of energy. So you have to be willing to just sign up for what you said, consistency, just like working on these smaller projects, focusing on learning, and not a lot of people are prepared to do that, especially at first. And sometimes I think kind of the rite of passage, the way that a lot of people learn online is you just keep doing it and then quit, and you come back later, and you just keep coming back, and that's how you actually make progress there.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, they quit. Why'd you choose Godot, Ian?
Um,
What is Godot?
Godot is a object-oriented, node-based.
You're
What do
making
you
this
call
sound
it?
really intimidating.
It's not. It's probably like the easiest to learn out of like any of them for me. Like maybe other than Unreal 4, but Unreal doesn't give me what I want usually.
But it's a game engine, right?
Yeah, it's a game engine.
It's a tool for someone. If someone's never heard any of those words, it's how you make a game. You use
Yeah.
Godot, you use Unity or Unreal. You pick out a different one. Which one's the best, Ian?
Um,
Is there a best?
there is not a best, I don't think. There are every different game engine suits a different person's needs and workflow and work style differently. Godot works for me because I worked for or with Roblox for God knows how long, and it is the most similar to that sort of workspace, and it's really easy to learn. It's got a language that I love using. It's just it's the ease. It's not. It's the ease of access compared to other game engines that require me to learn like a bunch of new systems and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. It's for me. I chose Godot because it was it got me out of tutorial purgatory.
Yeah.
You know, I was following a tutorial when I actually bought a paid course, and then that was the course that changed it all for me. Godot finally made sense. I was out. I could think and make things on my own, and that was cool. But yeah, no, Unreal's pretty awesome. Have you used that very much?
I haven't just because it wasn't really what I wanted. The graphics from what I've seen are always like, especially at the time I started Godot, I had like this. I think this like Celeron processor was terrible.
Yeah.
I couldn't. It was any game that used Unreal was way too intensive for me, so I couldn't use it. So
Yeah.
Godot helped a lot with that.
Yeah. That's definitely a big one. It's a heavy duty game engine. I've got a few hundred hours in it, which isn't very much. Sounds like it is a lot. But that's something else to talk about, like time spent learning. I think a lot of people, and me in the past as well, I may have spent a few hundred hours in Unreal Engine, but what was the quality of those hours spent?
Yeah.
Whether it's, for me, a big one was I stay up really late into the wee hours in the morning trying to learn game development. For whatever reason, neglecting my sleep when you're way better off just going to sleep and then spending maybe an hour in the morning, but that hour is going to be well rested. It's going to be very focused. You're going to absorb so much more information. So that's another thing. If you're thinking about it in the long term and you're actually wanting to acquire these skills, it's going to take you a while. You have to accept that. You have to tell yourself it's not going to happen overnight. No amount of grinding into the wee morning will do it. And yeah, you might be working more. You might be racking up more hours, but that's not necessarily a good thing. You start burning out really quick. This is something I've had to struggle with a lot. Is just I'm finally at a point in my life where I can accept that. It's like I've got all these projects I'm working on, but they're all working because I'm not trying to just cram them all in a day. It's like I'm pacing myself. I'm getting good sleep, waking up, and studying, and it helps a lot.
That I think is one of my biggest like principles. I don't have a whole ton of them when it comes to game development, but one of my biggest things with anything in general, especially creative stuff, sleep on it. Spend your time, sleep on it, because if you cram it in a day and you wake up the next morning, you're not gonna like it. It's gonna look bad. It'll perform bad.
What time did you go to bed? What's your
my bedtime is around 10 to 12, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m.
What time do you wake up?
That's a dice roll. Sometimes it's 8. Sometimes I sleep a lot and it's like 12.
Yeah, sleep is one of those things. I go to bed like nowadays around 9.
Yeah.
And it's I have to sleep sometimes for a while. So going to bed earlier really helps.
Yeah.
It really, really does. But how do you choose the right tool? How do you choose a game engine? How do you choose I mean, be real. We should all be using Godot and Blender. F to
Um,
Maya.
a lot of it, I hate to say that some of it is trial and error. You're gonna try a lot of game engines that don't work for you. Unreal Engine, or no, trying Unity didn't work. It was way too hard for me to learn, and I really gave it an honest try, and that was my trial and error. For other softwares, again, that's also sort of trial and error. But if you're not experienced with anything else, it's a lot easier to get used to whatever may be in front of you. Blender was really intimidating for me, but I took the time to learn it, and with time it got a lot better. And I prefer it over things like Maya, Autodesk. Autodesk Maya.
Yeah.
There was an old Autodesk program I used to use, but Fusion, I think. But
Did you hear Blender 4.2 came out?
yes, I heard. I haven't actually updated to Blender 4.0. I've been wanting to try that a lot.
I haven't. Here's the thing. I love Blender, but I haven't used it probably like a solid year. So Blender 3 was kind of new to me.
Blender 3 was or 2.8 actually. That was when they did the UI changes. That was
2.8
that was a smack in the face, but it's a much more friendly user interface than 2.7 was.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's come a long way, and it's cool to see. They just hit their 30-year birthday the other day. Saw their
30 years.
YouTube videos.
I thought they came out in 2000. Dang.
No, that was almost even 2000. It was almost 25 years ago.
It is 2024.
What year
isn't
were
it?
you born?
I was born 2003. I'm young.
Born in 2003. That yeah. I mean, I wasn't born too much earlier than you, I guess, but still feels.
Blender's been around longer than I have.
Yeah, same. I'm not 30 years old. But yeah, Blender's a really cool one. You can do so much in it. You can video edit. I don't know how to do it, but you can video edit. You can composite.
Yeah. That's where a lot of the stigma comes from. It's because it does everything and they kind of cram it in one app, which to some people is a huge turnoff. Like some people don't like that. And that's okay. You don't have to use Blender if it's all, if it's a mess for you. But
Open source software is like, if you're hearing those words as a game developer, I feel like the machine should start going off in your head. Like, this is some good stuff. This is stuff that people can't charge you for. You can use completely freely and openly. You can modify if you want to.
Yeah.
Oftentimes the community's making it. So if I'm trying to learn these new skills and become a game developer over the next course of my life, I want to be investing in tools that are open and free and aren't going to have someone like Unity recently, right? Deciding after the fact, hey, every single install your game gets, you owe us, what was it, like 20 cents or something?
I don't remember. I didn't keep track of it. And I was like, Unity's doing, I think they still have some weird sketchy proprietary stuff in place of that now, but they got rid of that.
Yeah. So these other tools are cool. Don't get me wrong. But if I could learn from anything, I'm at 0.0 and I have to choose where to invest all my time and energy. It's going to be in one of these tools that don't have any risk of something like that happening. Let's see. Yeah, let's talk about like making money in game development.
All right.
We've talked about you have made money from actually like selling your game, but there's plenty of other ways you could also make money too.
Yeah.
There's selling your courses. Say you become really good at a particular skill. Like I've done in the past, sell a course, make a series of videos, go sell on Udemy, go sell on your own platform, whatever it is. Brush packs, or digital assets.
Yeah.
Things that you make to make your job a bit easier. You can sell for a few bucks pretty easily.
Yeah.
What else?
Sometimes it can be just as simple as opening a Patreon. Or donations. There's a lot of people on Itch who will donate that. And it isn't a lot of people, but I think that the market is there for people to donate. And Patreon, you can provide early access to stuff, and you can provide in-depth looks, prototype builds, stuff like that.
You have to have a community for that,
Yeah.
though, which some people, do have a community and they don't sell anything. Or you could just sell your game, on Steam.
Yeah.
Just sell it or sell it on
You have to
Game
market
Pass.
you have to market Steam as well, like pretty intensely. You need a community for that to kind of take off as well.
Yeah. Yeah, which if you're making a game, it also helps to make videos about it. Devlogs. There's people that literally, you can see them, those game devs on YouTube. They'll make a ton of videos about their game leading up to it. And then maybe once the game comes out, they'll take a break for a while because it was really just to promote their game.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good game dev YouTubers out there.
Yeah. I can't really name a few. Hold on.
There's Maziz.
Oh, yeah.
And then the Jonas guy. I don't know. There's several.
Oh, yeah, Jonas Tyroller.
But how did you make? This is what everyone's wondering. How did you make your fortune in game development?
Fortune. It was a game jam game. Like it was low res jam, and it was like the whole gimmick was make your game 64 by 64 pixels, and I made ETP, which is a game about teleporting aliens, and I was, for a while, that was it. Like it placed number 9 in the game jam. It got a decent amount of attention. People like the soundtrack, all this stuff. I was like, oh, all right. And then I made a Newgrounds account. I was like, okay, I'm gonna upload ETP here to get like a maybe gather my portfolio here. And then I get an email from somebody claiming to be part of Cool Math Games, and I'm like, what? And it turns out they offered me like an undisclosed amount of money to purchase a non-exclusive license and host it on their site. And I was like, wow. So I worked with them for a while. They have guidelines, and these are public. You got to remove scores. You got to remove blood. And
was there blood originally in the game?
yes.
So they censored the game.
Yeah.
So do they have? They don't. It's a non-exclusive license.
Yeah. That means they can just they just put it up on their site. You can make any changes you want.
Okay. Gotcha. So do you host your game anywhere else than like the original format?
On
itch or anything?
I do. It's still on Newgrounds. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Explain Newgrounds.
Newgrounds is a site. It's sort of like, I don't want to say it's itch. Do you know what it is?
I've seen games on it. Yeah.
It
wasn't a game. It wasn't a website I played on a lot. No. Growing up.
It's a hub for creators. It has audio, art, games, movies, like all sorts of stuff you can host and make. It's basically like a place for artists to come together and upload their stuff. The environment's a little edgy, but it's...
Okay. So you had it on there originally?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it was on itch for the game jam, and then I put it on Newgrounds after the fact.
Got you. Okay, I'm understanding now. So an undisclosed amount of money they won't let you say.
I don't know. So I'm just going to stay safe.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, cool. So they approached you, and have you thought of approaching any other websites? Just setting up an email blast? Okay.
I haven't approached any other websites. I've thought about like contacting Congregate and stuff, but I don't know if they pay for that stuff or if they just host it. I know there are quite a few, the rip-off game sites that like steal games from Newgrounds and stuff, like they always have those ads with like the little icons, and
yeah.
ETP's on quite a few of those right now, which is kind of funny to me. But yeah, I don't know if those break any rules or laws.
I don't know. I feel like those are the websites I used growing up. Like Miniclip. Well, Miniclip was legit.
Well, Miniclip, Congregate, like
Game
those
Post.
are really
You ever heard of Game Post?
No.
I think it was just one of those where it would just pull in, because some of those games would have the Newgrounds logo. I didn't go to Newgrounds to play these games, but they were ripped, I guess, and put on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So ETP is not a Flash game, but it's running in the browser.
Yeah, it's an HTML game.
How do you compile HTML? Does Godot do that?
Godot just does that. I think it runs on JavaScript. I think.
Okay, cool. Well, is there anything else, Ian, that you'd like to talk about in today's podcast?
Let me think here.
Well, me neither. We have another game jam coming up in person that hopefully will be bigger than the last one. I don't know when we're going to do that yet. Probably next month at this point.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. That'll be a good time. And yeah, for everyone listening, thanks for listening. Again, we had this episode to talk about game development, which is something kind of new to the River Valley, but something that the River Valley is investing in with tech and with that program. So hopefully we can see some economic benefit come to our region. Maybe Russellville develops a bit as a creative hub, brings in more jobs, more revenue to the area through this program. I think it's going to take the community, like this podcast, like the game jams we're hosting at the Brainstorm space, to get involved and to make that happen. Otherwise, all of these people, all these hundreds of people going through this program, are just going to move somewhere else when they're done, or work remotely for a company in a different state. So let's try to create opportunities for our people here while we can with the tools that we have. And for some reason, I think the ingredients in the region, the ingredients in Russellville and the River Valley, I think are primed to make something cool in this industry happen.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for listening. We'll see you in the next one. Happy 2024. First episode of the year. All right. Bye-bye.